Well, first of all, okay, what are some of the big debates in this field, and what are some of the big developments in your eyes? Because I know that once you actually start delving into the science of morality or the psychology of morality, not everybody actually reaches the same conclusions. And I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about some of these debates about the nature of human morality and how it develops, as well as what are some of the most important findings from recent research, yours or other people.
Well, let me start with schooling itself, especially public schooling. There's one debate that is, or at least conflict that is not so much an ideological debate, but rather a practical debate, which is very simply how much time should be devoted to non-academic or non-basic skills kinds of education. And this came up a lot in the last 20 years or so when school systems all over the country were encouraged or even almost mandated by the federal government to focus on basic skills at the exclusion of a lot of other kinds of knowledge or interests. And even art and music started getting squeezed out of a lot of schools because there was such a demand to come up with good test scores in very narrow subject matters. And in that context, there were questions raised about whether classroom discussions about character and moral issues were just taking too much time away from learning how to do well on standardized tests. And this, I think, was a misdirection for a lot of reasons, and not just because of the moral and character subject matter, but also because of, as I said, art, music, history, civics, lots of other things that got squeezed out. I think fortunately, we've learned the lesson that was not a good approach. And the last 3 or 4 years, educators have been moving back to a whole child perspective. So then it gets to the point of, well, what other reservations would there be about moral and character instruction? Well, one of the directions that has been, I think, welcome and moving back again to a whole child perspective has been the SEL approach, the social emotional learning approach, which again is moving into areas of social and emotional development that go beyond simply basic skills. But the debate there is whether or not, as part of social emotional learning and in those areas, whether or not values such as right and wrong should be emphasized. And that's a kind of a classic, and it's a very legitimate debate because you don't want teachers or anybody to be brainwashing children according to idiosyncratic kinds of beliefs about areas that really are controversial in society. But I get back to what I said earlier, which is that there are some core values of just common decency and civilized living that include honesty, compassion, fair-mindedness, responsibility, respect. These are very basic and I would say universal values. Don't do harm to people, that you find all over the world and in every culture. And that those are the values that should be included in the social emotional realm. And I think that to the extent that there's any debate, it has to do with that. And I'm definitely on the side of saying, number one, values that have to do with common decency and responsibility and truthfulness are very much a part of the educator's responsibility. Values that have to do with controversial areas that religion and cultures are divided on and so on have no place in the classroom. So you do need to focus on the common core values of civilizations everywhere.